All right, let's dive right in. Today we're tackling a question that's been swirling around health circles for years. Is there a better way to measure our health than BMI? That infamous body mass index.
Well, there's this really intriguing article in JAMA Network Open, and it's presenting a new contender. It's called the Body Roundness Index, or BRI.
BRI. So when I first heard body roundness, I have to admit I pictured a donut.
I can see that.
But this is serious stuff, right?
It is, absolutely. This whole deep dive is about breaking down this article and figuring out, okay, what does this mean for the average person? And essentially, the research really honed in on whether this BRI could be a better predictor of mortality risk than BMI.
Mortality risk. So for those of us who don't speak, doctor, break that down. What does it actually mean?
Yeah, so it's basically the likelihood of dying within a certain period of time. And what they found was that BRI was significantly better at predicting this risk. We're talking about a 20% increase in accuracy compared to BMI.
Wow, 20%. That's a massive difference. So why are we even still using BMI? I feel like I've heard forever, BMI is flawed, BMI is flawed.
It's true, it has been under fire. And for good reason. It's really overly simplistic. You're just taking your weight and dividing it by your height squared. There's no consideration for individual differences in body composition.
Like that friend we all have,
Hmm.
who's super muscular, but according to BMI charts, they're considered overweight. It just never seems fair.
Exactly. And even more concerning, it doesn't tell us anything about where that weight is distributed. It doesn't differentiate between muscle and fat, and especially that kind of fat that we really care about, which is visceral fat.
Visceral fat. Okay, so that's the stuff that clings to our organs, right?
Right.
Why is that so much worse than just having a little extra padding, say, on our hips?
Well, you can think of visceral fat as metabolically active. It pumps out all these inflammatory substances that can really wreak havoc on your body. Yeah. It increases the risk of heart disease, type 2 diabetes, even certain types of cancer.
All right, so definitely the villain of the fat world.
Yeah.
But how does BRI do a better job of spotting it?
Okay, so BRI actually takes into account waist circumference, which is a much better indicator of visceral fat than just weight alone. So it's essentially looking at how much roundness you have in your midsection relative to your height.
Got it. So it's not just about how much you weigh, but how that weight is distributed.
Exactly.
Makes sense.
And so this JAMA study, they looked at this massive data set, over 500,000 adults. And they tracked both their BRI and their BMI over time and compared that to, their mortality risk. And what they found was fascinating.
Okay, give us the juicy details here. Did BRI live up to the hype?
It did. So both BRI and BMI, they both showed what's called a U-shaped relationship with mortality risk. So that basically means that both very low and very high measurements were linked to a greater risk of dying.
So even being too thin can be a problem.
That's right. But here's the thing. The key difference was that BRI was much more precise in identifying who was truly at risk, especially among people who might be misclassified by BMI.
Wait, so someone could have what's considered a healthy BMI, but actually be at higher risk because of their BRI?
Absolutely. So let's say you have someone with a lot of muscle mass. They might have a high BMI, and that would put them in the overweight category, but their BRI might be totally normal because they don't have a lot of visceral fat. And on the flip side, you could have someone with a normal BMI, but their BRI is actually really high because they have a large amount of visceral fat. And that puts them at greater risk, even though they might not seem overweight just by looking at them.
This is making me rethink everything I thought I knew about weight and health.
Yeah.
So are we ready to just dish BMI and say BRI is the new hero?
Well, not so fast. Not so fast. While this research is super promising, there are still a few hurdles to overcome before BRI, becomes the go-to measurement.
Okay, so let's play devil's advocate here. One of the roadblocks we're looking at for BRI.
Well, first off, BMI is deeply embedded in our healthcare system.
Yeah.
You think about it, it's used everywhere, from doctors' offices to, insurance calculations. Replacing it would be a massive overhaul.
It'd be like trying to switch everyone over to a new type of currency.
Yeah.
Total chaos. But besides that logistical nightmare, are there other concerns about BRI itself?
Yeah, there are a few things to think about. One is that we need more research to validate these findings, across diverse populations. So the JAMA study was large, but it only looked at adults. So we need to see, does BRI hold up in children, pregnant women, older adults, people from different ethnic backgrounds?
Makes sense. Can't just assume one measurement fits all.
Right.
Right. What else?
Another challenge is making sure that, waist circumference measurements are accurate and consistent because, even slight variations in how someone measures their waist could affect their BRI score.
I guess that's where human error could really sneak in.
Exactly. So we need to make sure everyone's on the same page,
Yeah.
when it comes to measuring.
Yeah, for sure.
And then there's the name itself, Body Roundness Index.
Yeah, I was going to say, it doesn't exactly roll off the tongue.
Right. And some people might find it kind of stigmatizing,
Yeah.
even though it's meant to be this more accurate health indicator. The author of the article even suggests, maybe considering some alternative names like Body Risk Index.
A body risk index.
To avoid those negative connotations.
Sounds a little more clinical, less judgmental.
Exactly.
Okay, so bottom line, is BRI just a flash in the pan, or could it actually change how we think about health?
I think it has tremendous potential. Honestly, this research is like a game changer. It's a wake-up call that BMI just doesn't cut it anymore.
It's like we've been using flip phones when the smartphone world exists.
Yeah. Yeah.
But while we wait for BRI to potentially, take center stage, what can we do now with this information?
Well, the key takeaway here is don't get so hung up on a single number, whether it's your BMI or even, your future BRI.
So throw out the scale, embrace the donuts.
Not quite. But, shift your focus to like a more holistic view of health. So think about your lifestyle choices. What you eat, how much you move, how well you sleep, how you manage stress. These factors have a much greater impact on your long-term health than any single measurement.
So it's about the whole picture, not obsessing over one number.
Exactly. And remember, this is just the beginning. The world of body composition measurement is like rapidly evolving. There are some really exciting new technologies on the horizon, like body composition analyzers, that could give us even more personalized insights into our health.
Okay, body composition analyzers. Those sound super high tech.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here?
Imagine getting this like detailed breakdown of your body fat percentage, your muscle mass, bone density, even your metabolic rate.
Wow.
It's like getting a peek under the hood, to see what's really going on.
That would be incredible.
Right, takes out all the guesswork.
Yeah.
Right now, these analyzers are mostly found in like specialized clinics or research settings. But as technology, keeps advancing and costs come down, they could become way more accessible to the average person.
So instead of just stepping on a scale, we could be getting a full body scan that reveals all our health secrets.
It's a real possibility. And that's what makes this field so fascinating. We're constantly learning more about the human body and developing these new tools to help us understand and improve our health.
This has been such an eye-opener. It's made me realize that we need to move beyond these simplistic measurements like BMI and embrace this more nuanced understanding of what it means to be healthy.
I couldn't agree more. It's about empowering ourselves with knowledge and taking like an active role in our own well-being.
Absolutely. Well said. Now, before we wrap things up, I have one final burning question for you, our listener. So if BRI does become, like, the new standard, how do you think it will change how we see health and body image? Will we finally move away from weight stigma and, embrace a more holistic view of well-being?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I really do think BRI has the potential to be a game changer in how we see ourselves and our health.
So instead of just fixating on the number on the scale, we'd be looking at the bigger picture. All those factors that contribute to a healthy life.
Exactly. Shifting the focus from weight to well-being. Imagine a world where, healthcare providers, they're less focused on telling people to lose weight and more focused on helping people understand, their individual risk factors and how to develop those personalized strategies to improve their health.
That would be a huge shift. It would require like a complete overhaul of how we even think about health and how we deliver healthcare.
It would. But you know what? I think it's a shift that's long overdue. Honestly, we're so quick to judge people based on their size.
Okay.
But the reality is health is way more complex than that. BRI could really help us move beyond those superficial judgments and start having these more meaningful conversations about what it actually means to be healthy.
I love that. Shifting from judgment to meaningful conversations. It feels like we're on the verge of a real revolution in how we understand and approach health.
I agree. And I think this research is really just the tip of the iceberg. As we, keep digging deeper into the human body, I think we're going to discover even more personalized and effective ways to measure and improve our health.
So it's not just about swapping BMI for BRI. It's about opening our minds to a whole new way of thinking about health.
Exactly. It's about embracing the fact that our bodies are all different and recognizing that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to well-being.
Well said. This deep dive has given me so much to think about, and I hope it's done the same for you, our listener. Remember, knowledge is power. The more we understand about our bodies, the better choices we can make to, support our long-term health and happiness.
And don't forget, this is a field that's constantly evolving, so stay curious, keep learning, be open to new discoveries. The future of health is full of possibilities.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us on this journey of exploration. Until next time, stay healthy, stay informed, and keep diving deep.